This is Marta, and today we are going to talk about diverse Finnish books. Specifically, we're going to concentrate on own voices representation. Now, there's a bit of this stereotype that countries like Finland are very homogenic and not very diverse, and that is not true at all. We have all sorts of different languages and ethnic groups, and like anywhere else, people with different sexualities and different religions. And I thought that I would talk about some books that reflect on this. Before we get started, I will say that diversity is different in that way in Finland, that some groups like the Sami that are Caucasian but still indigenous count as diverse. And also some immigrant groups like Estonian and Albanian, even if they're also Caucasian, then inside of Finland, then they have been a little bit marginalized. So just to keep that in mind. But let's get started. Alright, so the first book I want to talk about is a book that has been translated into a lot of languages, My Cat Yugoslavia by Pajtim Statovci. I probably said that wrong. But this is a book about a gay Albanian man who is also a Muslim, and all of that is own voices representation. And it's basically about him coming to terms with his identity, with being an immigrant, with being a Muslim, with being gay, all while he has to deal with his grumpy cat roommate who also happens to be a talking cat. So this is kind of like magic realism. Yeah, kind of like a magic realism book with a lot of diversity. Now the next book is Aavikon tyttäret by Nura Farah. This is a Somalian own voices presentation. Ms. Farah herself came to Finland when she was very young. And she came as a refugee from Somalia, and this is her debut novel that got a lot of buzz when it first came to Finland. And it's basically about a woman called Kadia, who's living in Somalia, who is kind of a free spirit, but due to lots of political turmoil inside of Somalia, gets married off and experiences things like female genital mutilation. And yeah, but I've heard that even if this book tackles some very heavy subjects, then people say that it's very exciting. It's kind of like an adventure book, and that it has this like fantastic atmosphere. So check this out. And Kiba Lumberg's Mesmea-trilogy. It has the books Musta, Perhonen, and Hammemekko, and a third one, let's see. Here's Musta, Perhonen, and Repaleiset, siivet, and Samettiyö. Those are the three books by her. And she has also written a comic called Gypsy Comics, and that is all Romani own voices presentation. The Romani are a ethnic minority inside of Finland who have been there since so far as the 16th century. And we have specifically the ones there are the Kale, the people that, I don't know if you would call them a tribe or a clan, but like the Kale Romani. And this book talks about very critically of that culture, specifically the violence towards women. But and she herself has kind of cut her ties to her family. But yeah, if you're looking for Romani writers, I recommend her. There's also another Romani writer from Finland, Veijo Balzar, and he has been writing since the 60s, and he is also kind of politically active. He kind of like ran for office a couple years ago, and he has written books such as Polttava, Verikihlat, Marja, Sodassa ja Rakkaudessa, and lots of other ones that I can't remember. He's written so much. But he is also a Romani. He also belongs to the Kale tribe, and he kind of writes like just the everyday life of the Romani that live in Finland, kind of like, their weddings and their music and dancing and fighting and all this kind of stuff. but he also sometimes, like just like Kiba Lumberg, he has criticized the violence towards women inside of their tribe, while also talking about the discrimination that they have faced in Finland and also globally. His last book, Sodassa ja Rakkaudessa, actually even talks about Romani victims of the Holocaust, something that's not often talked about. But yeah, so basically, if you're looking for some slice of life with also a little bit of a side of heavy subjects, check him out. He's also kind of a cool guy, so I just think like if you can find some of videos where he talks about politics and stuff, check it out. He's very likable and really smart. All right, now this is not exactly own voices, but this book, Poika by Marja Björk, is about a trans boy, and Marja Björk, her son is a trans boy. So this is based on his experiences, and Marja Björk actually even said that she wrote this book kind of as asking for forgiveness from her son, because as this book even shows, like she didn't always support her child in the ways that he would have needed. So basically, this is about a kid who is assigned female, and everybody kind of says you are a girl, but he identifies as a boy and is trying to say to everyone, there's a really good quote here on the back cover, that if you're a girl, even if you're really a boy, it is the same thing as if you were in a hospital and the doctors and your families and everyone around you are saying, this is a vegetable, but you're actually alive and trying to scream, I am alive, don't pull the plug on me. And this book won the Finlandia Junior Prize, which is like the greatest prize you can get for a young adult or a children's novel. So, I guess I should also say that this is young adult. But yeah, check this out. And another, like if you're looking for immigrant stories from Finland, there is TaoLin. She is originally from China, but she moved to Finland during the 70s, I believe. And she has written books like Suomen, taivaan alla and Sininen maa, roughly translated under the Finnish sky and the blue country. And she kind of just talks about, her novels kind of deal with that, about being in, about the Chinese and the Finnish culture clashing and what it's like to be Chinese in Finland, and also about like some of her books can be a little bit melancholic, but for the most part they're not as heavy as other books would be. If you're looking for multiracial or biracial representation, I recommend Auringon Asema. I guess in Swedish it would be Solens ställning, the position of the sun, by Ranya Paasonen. And Ranya Paasonen, she wrote this book, Auringon Asema, about her own experiences having an Egyptian father and a Finnish mother, and kind of growing up between these two cultures, where these two cultures were clashing but also fusing together. And her father was a Muslim and her mother was a Christian, and kind of what that was about, like what that was like in a way. So about like having different identities. And Ranya Paasonen herself has also, she writes columns, and she has talked about the xenophobia in Finland and about how she is sometimes viewed as the other, and microaggressions that she experiences and such. So if you want to read a book about multiracial people in Finland, definitely check out her columns or her novel Auringon Asema. And finally, as a final note, you can't talk about diverse Finnish books without talking about the indigenous writers. And I will recommend perhaps the most famous one, Nils-Aslak Valkeapää. He is a poet, and his magnum opus is called The Sun, My Father, Aurinko Isäni in Finnish, though he does write in Sami. And his poems deal with basically like the erasure and the systematic oppression that the Sami went through, but also about nature and their relationship to nature and their culture. And his poems are like really admired in Finland, and in fact he is one of the few Sami who have won the Nordic Literary Prize. That's basically like a prize where every year they nominate some Finnish, Swedish, Danish, Icelandic, sometimes Greenland, and then a Sami language writer. And often the prize goes to a Danish or Norwegian or Swedish writer, but Nils-Aslak Valkeapää is, I don't think he's the only one, but he's one of the few Sami writers who actually won this prize, and it was for the son, my father. So definitely check him out if you want to know a little bit more about the indigenous group. And so tune in for next time. I'm going to in the future talk about more diverse Finnish books, because there's lots out there, as many as there are mountains in the world, basically. And I will also then in the future talk about also other things. So stick around if you're into cultural stuff. And I will say thank you and goodbye for this time.